Naomi Williams was exhausted. It was 11:45 on a Thursday night, and she had just finished a 14-hour shift at Riverside Pharmacy, the 24-hour drugstore in Lower Manhattan, where she had worked for the past 3 years. At 27, Naomi had learned to navigate the challenges of being a Black woman in a profession where she constantly had to prove her expertise, deal with customers who asked for the real pharmacist when she was standing right in front of them, and manage the stress of literal life-and-death decisions about medication interactions and prescription accuracy. Tonight had been particularly brutal. A computer system crash had forced her to manually verify every prescription. A mother had screamed at her for 20 minutes about insurance coverage that Naomi had no control over, and an elderly patient had collapsed in the store, requiring Naomi to administer emergency first aid until the paramedics arrived. All she wanted was to get home to her small studio apartment in Brooklyn, take a hot shower, and sleep for approximately 12 hours. The pharmacy was located on a street that was usually busy during the day, but became somewhat isolated at night. Naomi had made this walk to the subway station hundreds of times, but she never completely relaxed. She kept her phone in her hand, her keys threaded through her fingers like a makeshift weapon, and her awareness sharp despite her exhaustion. As she turned the corner onto the darker side street that led to the subway entrance, Naomi noticed a man standing near the ATM vestibule of a closed bank. He was tall, probably over 6 feet, with the kind of presence that made him impossible to ignore even in the dim streetlight. He wore an expensive-looking charcoal suit that fit him perfectly, and his dark hair was styled with the kind of casual precision that suggested both money and attention to detail. What caught Naomi's attention, however, was not the man himself, but the 3 figures emerging from the shadows behind him. They moved with purpose, their faces partially covered by hoodies, and Naomi's years of working late-night shifts in urban pharmacies had taught her to recognize danger when she saw it. The man at the ATM seemed completely unaware. He was focused on his phone, one hand in his pocket, relaxed in a way that suggested he had never needed to worry about being vulnerable on a dark street. Naomi's first instinct was to keep walking, to not get involved, to reach the safety of the subway station and let whatever was about to happen play out without her intervention. But then she remembered the elderly patient from earlier that evening, the one who had collapsed, the one whose life she had helped save. She remembered the oath she had taken as a pharmacist, the commitment to helping people, to using her knowledge and awareness to prevent harm. The 3 figures were getting closer. The man still didn't notice, and Naomi made a decision that would change her entire life. "Walk away now," Naomi said loudly, her voice cutting through the quiet street as she moved quickly toward the man. "Walk away now and don't turn around." Dante Moretti had been in dangerous situations more times than he could count. At 42, he had spent over 2 decades building and maintaining his position as the head of one of New York's most powerful organized crime families. He had survived assassination attempts, federal investigations, and conflicts with rival organizations that had claimed the lives of men who were less careful or less ruthless than he was, so when a woman's voice suddenly cut through his concentration with a warning that was both urgent and oddly protective, every instinct Dante had developed over 20 years of survival kicked in immediately. He looked up from his phone and saw her, a beautiful Black woman with her hair in a professional bun, wearing scrubs under a winter coat, and moving toward him with determination, despite the obvious exhaustion in her face. Behind him, Dante heard the shuffling of feet. 3 of them based on the sound, probably armed, definitely intending robbery or worse. They had been trying to be quiet, but Dante had spent his entire adult life being aware of potential threats. He had known they were there, had been allowing them to get closer, had been deciding whether it was worth breaking the careful anonymity he maintained in public to deal with them. But this woman, this complete stranger who had no idea who he was, had just put herself in danger to warn him, and that changed everything. "Walk away now," she repeated, and Dante saw her eyes flick behind him to assess the threat before returning to his face. "Please, just trust me and walk away." Dante moved, not away from the danger as she had suggested, but toward her, closing the distance between them in 3 long strides. He wrapped one arm around her waist, pulling her against him in a way that must have looked romantic to anyone watching, but was actually positioning himself between her and the 3 men who had been targeting him. Don't talk, Dante said quietly, his lips close to her ear. Don't move. Don't react. Just stay exactly where you are. Naomi felt the stranger's arm around her waist, felt his body press against hers with a warmth and solidity that was oddly comforting, despite the strangeness of the situation. His voice was low and accented, Italian maybe, with a calmness that seemed completely incongruous with the danger she had just warned him about. Did you hear what I said? Naomi whispered urgently. There are 3 men behind you. They're going to... I know exactly who is behind me, the man interrupted gently, and I know exactly what they were planning. But now you are involved, which means I need to handle this differently than I originally intended. Before Naomi could respond, she heard footsteps approaching rapidly. One of the hooded figures spoke, his voice aggressive and demanding. Wallet and phone. Both of you. Now. And the pretty lady's purse. The man holding Naomi didn't move, didn't tense, didn't show any sign of fear or compliance. Instead, he shifted slightly, and Naomi realized he was positioning her behind him, using his body as a shield. You should leave, the man said calmly. All 3 of you. Right now, before this becomes something you will regret. The robber laughed, a harsh sound without humor. Did you hear this guy? Giving us orders. Maybe we need to teach you. What happened next occurred so quickly that Naomi barely processed it. The man released her waist, moved forward with fluid precision, and within seconds all 3 would-be robbers were on the ground. One was clutching his arm at an angle that suggested it was broken. Another was gasping for breath. The third was completely unconscious. The entire confrontation had lasted less than 10 seconds. And the man in the expensive suit hadn't even messed up his hair. He turned back to Naomi, his dark eyes assessing her with an intensity that made her breath catch. Are you hurt? Did they touch you? Naomi stared at him, at the 3 men groaning on the ground, at the complete lack of concern or stress on the stranger's handsome face. What? Who are you? My name is Dante, he said simply, and you just did something either very brave or very foolish. Walk away now, those were your words. Good advice, except you did not take it yourself. I was trying to help you, Naomi said, her voice sharper than she intended as the adrenaline started to hit her system. I thought you were in danger. I was in danger, Dante agreed. But not the kind you imagined. He pulled out his phone and made a quick call, speaking in rapid Italian. Naomi caught maybe 1 word in 5, but the tone was clearly authoritative, issuing instructions that whoever was on the other end of the line immediately accepted. What are you doing? Naomi asked. Arranging for these men to be taken somewhere they can think about their choices, Dante replied, and making sure you get home safely. I don't need... You do, Dante interrupted gently but firmly. You involved yourself in something that connects you to me now. That requires certain precautions. Connects me to you? I don't even know you. I was just trying to save me. Dante's expression softened slightly, which was extraordinarily kind and remarkably naive. This city has thousands of people walking around at night. You chose to warn a complete stranger. To put yourself in danger to help someone you had never met. Why? Naomi blinked, surprised by the question. Because it was the right thing to do. Because I'm a pharmacist and I take an oath to help people. Because... She trailed off, not sure how to explain the instinct that had made her intervene. Because you have a good heart, Dante finished for her, and you assume others will make the same choices you would make. He stepped closer, and Naomi caught the scent of his cologne, something expensive and subtly masculine. But this world is not safe for people with good hearts who make assumptions about strangers. Are you lecturing me? Naomi asked, feeling her exhaustion transform into irritation. I just tried to save your life. And I just saved yours, Dante pointed out. Those men would have hurt you, Bella. Badly. The moment you spoke, the moment you drew attention to yourself, you became a target. A black SUV pulled up to the curb with perfect timing. 2 men in dark suits emerged, and Dante issued more instructions in Italian. They collected the 3 would-be robbers with efficient professionalism, loading them into the vehicle without comment or question. What are they going to do to those guys? Naomi asked, suddenly worried that she had witnessed something that would come back to haunt her. Nothing permanent, Dante assured her. Just enough to ensure they reconsider their chosen profession. He looked at her seriously. But we need to talk. Somewhere private, somewhere safe. I'm not going anywhere with you, Naomi said immediately. I appreciate your help, but I don't know you, and I need to get home. You live in Brooklyn, Dante said. Prospect Heights, based on the direction you were walking and the time of night. You work at Riverside Pharmacy, which means you have been on your feet for at least 12 hours. You are exhausted, probably hungry, and definitely processing adrenaline that will hit you harder once you are alone. Naomi stared at him. How do you know where I live? Your pharmacy uniform has the store name, Dante explained. And I know this city better than most. The question is not how I know where you live, Bella. The question is whether you will be smart enough to accept that you need protection tonight, and trust me enough to provide it. Protection from what? From the consequences of your kindness, Dante said simply. Those men saw your face. They will remember you, and while I can ensure they do not personally bother you again, I cannot control what they might tell others. You saved me tonight, Naomi Williams. Now let me return the favor. Naomi felt a chill that had nothing to do with the temperature. You know my name. I saw your identification badge, Dante replied. And I make it my business to know about people who involve themselves in my life. Come, I will explain everything, but not here on the street. Against every instinct that told her to refuse, against every warning she had ever received about trusting strangers, Naomi found herself nodding. There was something about this man, something that suggested he was dangerous but not to her, that made her feel oddly safe despite the insanity of the situation. 1 hour, Naomi said. You explain what just happened and then I go home. 1 hour, Dante agreed. He gestured to another black SUV that had appeared seemingly from nowhere. Please, after you. The interior of the SUV was more luxurious than any vehicle Naomi had ever been in. Soft leather seats, climate control, and privacy glass that made the outside world seem very far away. Dante sat beside her, maintaining a respectful distance, but his presence filled the space in a way that made her hyper-aware of him. Where are we going? Naomi asked as the vehicle pulled smoothly into traffic. To my restaurant, Dante replied. Private dining room, safe, quiet. Good food if you are hungry. I thought we were just going to talk. We will talk. But you have not eaten tonight, yes? Your stomach has made 3 separate sounds of complaint since you got in this vehicle. Naomi felt her face heat with embarrassment. I was planning to grab something on the way home. Now you will have something better, Dante said simply. Consider it payment for your attempted rescue. I don't want payment. I just want to understand what I walked into. Dante studied her face in the dim light of the SUV. You walked into my life, Bella, and I am not sure either of us will walk away from that unchanged. The restaurant was called Moretti's, which should have been Naomi's first clue about exactly who this man was. It was located in a historic building in Little Italy, the kind of place that had been serving traditional Italian food for generations. At nearly midnight, the main dining room was closed, but lights glowed warmly from the windows, and the scent of garlic and tomatoes wafted out when Dante held the door open for her. Inside, the decor was elegant, but warm. Dark wood, white tablecloths, family photographs on the walls showing generations of Morettis standing in this same space. An older woman with silver hair emerged from the kitchen, her face lighting up when she saw Dante. Mio figlio, you are here so late. Are you hungry? Of course you are hungry. I will make... She stopped when she noticed Naomi, her expression shifting to one of delighted curiosity. And you bring a beautiful guest. Finally, Dante brings home a girl. Mama, this is Naomi Williams, Dante said with patient affection. Naomi, this is my mother, Rosa Moretti. Signora Moretti, Naomi said politely, offering her hand. Rosa ignored the hand and pulled Naomi into a warm hug instead. Call me Rosa, cara. Any friend of Dante is family. You look exhausted. Come, I will feed you. Dante, take her to the private room. I will bring food. Before Naomi could protest, she found herself being ushered through the restaurant to a small private dining room in the back. It was intimate without being romantic, with a single table set for 2 and enough space to feel comfortable rather than crowded. Dante pulled out a chair for her with old-fashioned courtesy. Please sit. My mother will not take no for an answer about the food. So you might as well accept that you will be eating tonight whether you intended to or not. Naomi sat, suddenly aware of how tired she actually was. Your mother seems nice. She is the best person I know, Dante said simply. She is also the only person in this city who can give me orders and expect them to be followed. And what about everyone else? Naomi asked. Do they follow your orders because they want to or because they're afraid of you? Dante's expression became more serious as he sat across from her. That is a complicated question, but it is also why we need to talk. You asked who I am. The answer is not simple. Try me, Naomi said. I'm a pharmacist. I deal with complicated information all day. I am Dante Moretti, he began. I own this restaurant and several other legitimate businesses in the city. I am also the head of what some people call an organized crime family, though we prefer to think of ourselves as a community organization that operates outside conventional legal structures. Naomi stared at him. You're in the Mafia. I am in the family business, Dante corrected gently. Which, yes, includes activities that law enforcement considers criminal. But it also includes protecting our community, supporting local businesses, and maintaining order in neighborhoods that the police have largely abandoned. So you're a criminal. I am a man who makes difficult choices for the benefit of many people, Dante said. I do not expect you to understand or approve, but I need you to recognize that by involving yourself tonight, by showing your face to those men, by connecting yourself to me even briefly, you have created a situation that requires management. Naomi felt her heart rate increase. Are you threatening me? No, Dante said firmly. I am protecting you. Those 3 men who tried to rob us, they were not random criminals. They were sent by someone who wants to test my defenses, to see if I am vulnerable. By warning me, by drawing their attention to yourself, you became part of that situation. They will report back that a woman intervened. And that makes you interesting to people you do not want to be interesting to. What are you saying? I am saying that for the next few weeks, possibly longer, you will need protection. Someone watching your apartment. Someone ensuring you get to and from work safely. Someone making sure that your act of kindness does not result in harm to you. I don't want your protection, Naomi said. I just want to go back to my normal life. Your normal life now includes having been seen with me, Dante replied. That cannot be changed, but it can be managed. He leaned forward, his dark eyes intense. I will not let you be hurt because you tried to help me. That is not negotiable. Rosa appeared with plates of food, breaking the tension. Pasta with a sauce that smelled incredible. Fresh bread, a simple salad with olive oil and balsamic vinegar. She set everything down with the efficiency of someone who had been feeding people in this restaurant for decades. Eat, both of you, Rosa commanded. Whatever you are discussing can wait until you have food in your stomachs. Dante, stop looking so serious. You will scare this beautiful girl away. She patted Naomi's shoulder affectionately. He is not as dangerous as he looks, Kara. He is a good boy who worries too much. After Rosa left, Dante gestured to the food. Please, eat. My mother's cooking is one of the few pure pleasures left in my complicated life. Naomi realized she was starving. The pasta was incredible, the flavors rich and comforting in a way that made her want to close her eyes and just experience the food. Despite the insanity of the situation, despite the fact that she was having dinner with the admitted Mafia boss, she found herself relaxing slightly. This is amazing, she admitted. My mother is a genius with food, Dante agreed. She could have been a celebrity chef if she had wanted. But she prefers this, feeding people in our family restaurant, maintaining traditions. He took a bite of his own pasta. Tell me about yourself, Naomi Williams. What makes a pharmacist work until midnight on a Thursday? What makes a woman risk her own safety to warn a stranger about danger? I work late because I need the money, Naomi said honestly. Student loans from pharmacy school. Rent in Brooklyn. The usual financial pressures of being 27 and trying to build a stable life. She met his eyes. And I warned you because I couldn't not warn you. I saw someone in danger and I couldn't just walk past. Even when that someone was a complete stranger. Especially then, Naomi said. Anyone can help a friend or family member. It takes actual character to help someone you don't know. Dante smiled, and it transformed his face from handsome to absolutely devastating. You have an interesting philosophy, Bella. Idealistic. Dangerous, but beautiful. Don't call me Bella, Naomi said. You don't know me well enough for nicknames. Bella means beautiful in Italian, Dante explained. And it is simply the truth. You are beautiful. Particularly now, with tomato sauce on your chin and fire in your eyes as you tell me not to use terms of endearment. Naomi wiped her chin self-consciously, feeling her face heat. You're very forward. I am very direct, Dante corrected. Life is too short and too dangerous to waste time being indirect about things that matter. And you, Naomi Williams, matter. You mattered the moment you said walk away now. You mattered when you stepped toward danger instead of away from it. You matter now. You don't know me. Not yet, Dante agreed. But I would like to, if you will allow it. Naomi set down her fork, suddenly feeling overwhelmed. Look, I appreciate the food and the explanation, but I'm a pharmacist from Brooklyn. You're a mafia boss. We don't exist in the same world. This was just a weird intersection of circumstances, and now I should go home and pretend it never happened. Except you cannot pretend it never happened, Dante said gently. Because it did happen, and as I explained, there are consequences to that. He pulled out his phone and showed her a message. This is from my security team. They have already identified the 3 men from tonight. They work for the Castellano family, a rival organization that has been testing our boundaries for months. By morning, every connected person in this city will know that someone intervened during an attempted attack on me. And descriptions of you will circulate. Naomi felt cold. What does that mean? It means that for your own safety, you need to accept my protection, at least until we can establish that you were simply an innocent bystander who got caught up in something beyond your understanding. And how long will that take? A few weeks, maybe a month. Dante saw her expression and added quickly, the protection will be discreet. You will barely notice it, but it will be there. I don't want to be protected, Naomi said, hearing the frustration in her own voice. I just want my normal life. Normal is overrated, Dante said. And sometimes fate intervenes to give us something better than normal. He reached across the table, and Naomi was surprised when she didn't pull her hand away. Give me 2 weeks. Let me keep you safe. Let me show you that my world is not what you imagine. And then, if you want to walk away, I will respect that decision. 2 weeks of what exactly? Of protection. Of getting to know each other. Of letting me apologize for putting you in danger simply by existing in the same space at the same time. Dante's thumb stroked gently across her knuckles. I am asking for a chance, Bella. A chance to prove that the man you tried to save is worth saving. Naomi knew she should say no. Every rational part of her brain was screaming that this was insane, that she should refuse, that she should walk away and never look back. But there was something in Dante's eyes, something in the way he held her hand like it was precious, something in the way he had protected her without hesitation, that made her curious despite herself. 2 weeks, she heard herself say, but I have conditions. Name them. I keep working my normal schedule. I don't change my life to accommodate your protection. And if at any point I feel uncomfortable or threatened, this arrangement ends immediately. Agreed, Dante said without hesitation. Anything else? Yes. You tell me the truth. About everything. About your business, about the danger, about what you actually want from me. No lies, no omissions. If I'm going to trust you, you need to be honest. Dante studied her face for a long moment. That is a dangerous request, Bella. There are truths about my life that you might prefer not to know. I'm a pharmacist, Naomi reminded him. I deal with difficult truths all the time. I can handle whatever you tell me. Very well, Dante agreed. Honesty, protection, 2 weeks. And in exchange, you give me a chance to prove that the man you tried to save is not the monster you might imagine him to be. They sealed the agreement with a handshake that lasted longer than necessary, and Naomi felt the calluses on Dante's palm, the strength in his grip, the warmth of his skin against hers. Something had shifted in the last hour, something that neither of them fully understood, but both of them felt. 2 weeks, Naomi thought as Dante's driver took her home in the early hours of the morning. 2 weeks of protection and truth and getting to know a man who was nothing like anyone she had ever met. What could possibly happen in 2 weeks? Everything, it turned out. Absolutely everything. The next morning, Naomi woke up in her small studio apartment feeling like the previous night had been some kind of exhaustion-induced hallucination. Surely, she had not actually warned a Mafia boss about a robbery. Surely she had not had dinner with said Mafia boss. Surely she had not agreed to 2 weeks of protection and getting to know him. But the business card on her nightstand, embossed with the name Dante Moretti and a phone number, suggested otherwise. As did the text message on her phone from an unknown number. "Good morning, Bella. Your protection detail is Marco. He will be discreet but present. Call if you need anything. Dante." Naomi looked out her 4th-floor window and saw a black sedan, parked across the street with a clear view of her building entrance. A young man sat in the driver's seat, and when he noticed her looking, he raised a coffee cup in casual salute. "This is insane," Naomi muttered to herself. But she also couldn't deny a small flutter of something, curiosity maybe, or excitement, at the thought that Dante had been serious about everything he said. Her phone rang. An unknown number, but when she answered, Dante's accented voice was immediately recognizable. "You saw Marco?" "Kind of hard to miss the obvious bodyguard parked outside my apartment," Naomi replied. "He is there for your safety," Dante said, "and to report if anyone shows unusual interest in you or your building. You will not even notice him after a few days." "That's what worries me," Naomi admitted. "That I'll get used to this. Would that be so terrible? To feel safe? To have someone looking out for you?" Dante's voice softened. "When is the last time someone protected you, Bella? When is the last time you did not have to be strong and independent and capable all by yourself?" The question hit harder than Naomi expected. The truth was, she had been on her own for so long that she had forgotten what it felt like to have someone else share the burden of vigilance, to have someone else checking if she got home safely. "I have to get ready for work," Naomi said, not answering his question directly. "Marco will drive you," Dante offered. "Much faster than the subway, much more comfortable." "I take the subway every day. I don't need—" "I know you do not need," Dante interrupted gently. "But would you accept, as a favor to me, to let me know that you arrived safely at work?" Naomi found herself agreeing, though she wasn't sure why. Maybe it was the exhaustion from her shift yesterday. Maybe it was the memory of how Dante had positioned himself between her and danger without hesitation. Or maybe it was just curiosity about what 2 weeks with this man might actually look like. Marco turned out to be professional, courteous, and true to Dante's promise, utterly discreet. The drive to Riverside Pharmacy took less than half the time of Naomi's usual subway commute, and Marco had her dropped at the staff entrance with perfect timing. "Mr. Moretti said to tell you that lunch will be delivered at 1 o'clock, Marco informed her as she got out of the car. "He recommends the chicken marsala, but you can order whatever you prefer from Moretti's menu." "He's sending me lunch?" "He is making sure you eat properly," Marco corrected with a slight smile, which Mr. Moretti takes very seriously. Work was busy enough that Naomi almost forgot about the surreal turn her life had taken. Almost. But at exactly 1 o'clock, a delivery arrived from Moretti's with chicken marsala that was even better than last night's pasta, fresh bread, and a handwritten note in elegant script. "Eat, Bella. You work too hard." Dante. Her co-worker, a 50-something woman named Patricia, noticed the delivery and the note. "Girl, who is sending you food with notes? Do you have a boyfriend you haven't told us about?" "It's complicated," Naomi said, which was the understatement of the century. Complicated in a good way or a bad way? Naomi thought about Dante's dark eyes, his protective instincts, the way he had held her hand across the dinner table. I'm not sure yet. The pattern continued for 3 days. Marco drove her to work. Lunch arrived from Moretti's with a different note each time. Dante texted her once a day, nothing demanding or invasive, just a simple check-in to make sure she was all right. And Naomi found herself thinking about him more than she wanted to admit. On the 4th day, Dante himself showed up at the pharmacy at closing time. He was waiting outside when Naomi finished her shift at 11 o'clock, leaning against the black SUV with an elegance that seemed effortless. "You're here," Naomi said, surprised at how pleased she felt to see him. "I thought perhaps you might join me for a late dinner," Dante said, "if you are not too tired, if you are willing to give me a few hours of your time." "Where?" "My home," Dante replied. "Private, safe, and I promise, exceptional food. My mother is making osso buco, and she specifically requested that I bring the beautiful pharmacist who has been receiving all her carefully prepared lunches." Naomi laughed despite herself. "Your mother knows about me?" "My mother knows everything about everyone I care about," Dante said with affection. "And she has decided that you are good for me, which means you will be subjected to her feeding, her questions, and her complete disregard for any boundaries I might wish to maintain." "That sounds terrifying." "It is," Dante agreed, "but also wonderful. Say yes, Bella. Come have dinner with me and my mother. Let me show you more of who I actually am." Naomi thought about her empty apartment, her usual routine of frozen meals and streaming television. She thought about the curiosity that had been building over the past few days. And she thought about the fact that she was already in this situation, already protected by Dante's people, already thinking about him more than was probably wise. "Yes," she said, "but I need to change first. I'm not having dinner in pharmacy scrubs." "You look beautiful in anything," Dante said seriously, "but if you wish to change, I will wait." 20 minutes later, Naomi emerged from her apartment wearing a simple black dress and her favorite leather jacket, her natural hair in a high puff that framed her face. Dante's expression when he saw her made her feel beautiful in a way she hadn't felt in years. "Perfetta," he said quietly. "Come, Bella. Let me take you home." Dante's home was a penthouse apartment in a pre-war building near Central Park. The interior was a perfect blend of modern comfort and old-world elegance. High ceilings, original moldings, contemporary furniture mixed with antique pieces that looked like they had been in his family for generations. Rosa was in the kitchen, surrounded by the wonderful chaos of serious cooking. When she saw Naomi, she immediately abandoned her stirring to pull her into another warm hug. "Bella, Naomi, you came! Dante, take her coat." "Sit, cara, sit. Tell me about yourself while I finish this sauce." Over the next hour, Naomi learned more about Dante than she had imagined possible. She learned that his father had died when Dante was 22, suddenly making him responsible for both his family business and his mother. She learned that he had a younger sister, Lucia, who was a doctor in Boston, and who knew nothing about the less legal aspects of the family business. She learned that Rosa had been a teacher before she married into the Moretti family, and that she still volunteered at a local community center teaching English to immigrants. "Dante takes after his father," Rosa explained as they sat down to dinner. "Strong, protective, too serious sometimes. But he has my heart. He cannot resist helping people, even when it would be smarter to stay uninvolved." "Mama," Dante said with patient exasperation. "It is true," Rosa insisted. "You see someone in trouble, you have to fix it. Like this beautiful girl who tried to save you from those criminals. She has the same heart. You are matched, you two." Naomi felt her face heat. "We just met a few days ago, Rosa. And already he talks about you constantly," Rosa said with satisfaction. "Naomi thinks this, Naomi said that. I know my son. He is interested. And you, Cara, are you interested?" The directness of the question caught Naomi off guard. She looked at Dante, who was watching her with an expression that suggested he was as curious about her answer as his mother was. "I'm trying to figure out if I should be interested," Naomi said honestly. Your son lives in a very different world than I do. All worlds are the same at the dinner table, Rosa said philosophically. We all eat, we all laugh, we all need love and family. The rest is just details. After dinner, Rosa insisted on packing up leftovers for Naomi to take home, then discreetly disappeared to give them privacy. Dante walked Naomi out to the penthouse terrace, where the city lights sparkled below them and the autumn air was crisp but not cold. Your mother is wonderful, Naomi said. She is my conscience, Dante replied. The person who reminds me that there is more to life than power and protection and business. He moved to stand beside her at the railing. She likes you. That is rare. My mother does not approve of most people I spend time with. Why does she like me? Because you tried to save me, Dante said simply. Because you have a good heart, and you are not afraid to show it. Because she sees in you something that reminds her of herself when she was younger, before life became complicated. They stood in comfortable silence for a moment, and Naomi felt the warmth of Dante's proximity, the strength of his presence. She was acutely aware of how close he was, how easy it would be to close the distance between them. Tell me about your family, Dante said. Your history, the things that made you become who you are. Naomi hesitated, then decided that if she was asking for honesty from him, she owed him the same. My parents died when I was 18. Car accident. I was starting college and suddenly I was completely alone. No siblings, no close relatives. Just me and student loans and the determination to finish what I had started. I am sorry, Dante said quietly. That is too young to lose everyone. It made me independent, Naomi said. Maybe too independent. I got used to not relying on anyone, not asking for help, not letting people get close enough to hurt me again. And now? Dante asked. Are you still so determined to be alone? Naomi looked at him, at the genuine concern in his dark eyes, at the way he was looking at her like she mattered. I'm starting to wonder if maybe being alone isn't as important as I thought it was. Dante reached out and gently tucked a curl behind her ear, his touch feather-light but electrifying. You do not have to be alone anymore, Bella. Not if you do not wish to be. You barely know me. I know that you are brave without being reckless, that you care about people deeply enough to risk yourself for strangers, that you are intelligent and dedicated to your profession, that you look beautiful in the moonlight and even more beautiful when you are challenging me. He smiled slightly. I know enough to want to know everything. This is crazy, Naomi whispered. We're from completely different worlds. Then perhaps we are meant to create a new world together, Dante suggested. One where a pharmacist and a difficult businessman find something worth protecting. He leaned in slowly, giving her every opportunity to pull away, to refuse, to maintain the distance she had been so carefully preserving. But Naomi found she didn't want distance. She wanted to know what it felt like to kiss this man who had somehow become so important in just a few days. When their lips met, it was like everything else fell away. The city noise, the complicated circumstances, the logical reasons why this was a terrible idea. There was only the warmth of Dante's mouth, the gentle strength of his hands cupping her face, the feeling of being completely present in a moment that felt simultaneously brand new and inevitably right. When they finally pulled apart, Dante rested his forehead against hers. Still think this is crazy? Absolutely, Naomi breathed. But maybe the best things always are. The next week passed in a blur of work. Stolen dinners, late-night conversations that stretched into early morning, and a growing connection that neither Naomi nor Dante could deny or explain. She learned more about his business, the moral complexities of his world, the ways he used his power to protect people rather than harm them. She met more of his organization, people who treated Dante with respect that bordered on reverence, but who also showed genuine loyalty rather than fear. She saw how he negotiated disputes, how he invested in community businesses, how he maintained order in neighborhoods that had been forgotten by conventional authorities. And Dante learned about her world, too. He came to the pharmacy during her shifts, sat in the back corner reading while she worked, and saw firsthand the way she interacted with patients with genuine care and expertise. He watched her handle difficult customers with patience, make life-saving decisions about medication interactions, and work 14-hour shifts without complaint. You are extraordinary, Dante told her one night as he drove her home after a particularly brutal shift. The way you care for people. The way you maintain your compassion despite exhaustion. I'm just doing my job, Naomi said, though his words made something warm bloom in her chest. No, Dante corrected. You are changing lives. Every prescription you verify carefully, every interaction where you catch a potential problem, every moment where you treat people with dignity regardless of their insurance status or attitude. You save lives, Bella, just as surely as I try to protect lives in my own way. The comparison made Naomi think. Their methods were different, certainly, but the underlying motivation, the desire to protect and help people, was remarkably similar. On the 12th day of their 2-week agreement, everything changed. Naomi was working a night shift when a man came into the pharmacy asking for her specifically. He was well-dressed, polite, but there was something about his eyes that made every instinct Naomi had suddenly screamed danger. Naomi Williams? The man asked. I need to speak with you about your relationship with Dante Moretti. Before Naomi could respond, Marco appeared from seemingly nowhere, positioning himself between Naomi and the stranger. You need to leave, Marco said quietly but firmly. I just want to talk to Miss Williams, the man said. Ask her a few questions. And I said you need to leave. Marco's hand was inside his jacket, and Naomi realized with a chill that he was armed. Now, the man smiled without humor. Tell Dante Moretti that his little pharmacist is not as protected as he thinks. Tell him that Alessandro Castellano sends his regards. As Marco escorted the man out, Naomi called Dante with shaking hands. He answered on the first ring. Bella? What is wrong? Someone just came to the pharmacy asking about me. About us. Marco said his name was something Castellano. There was a long silence on the other end of the line. When Dante spoke again, his voice was cold in a way Naomi had never heard. I am coming to get you. Right now, Marco, keep her safe until I arrive. 15 minutes later, Dante walked into the pharmacy with an intensity that made everyone instinctively move out of his way. He went straight to Naomi, framed her face in his hands, and looked at her with fierce concern. Did he touch you? Did he threaten you? No, Naomi said. He just asked questions and mentioned someone named Alessandro Castellano. Dante's jaw tightened. Alessandro is the head of the Castellano family, the same organization that sent those 3 men to rob me the night we met. By coming here, by approaching you directly, he has made a statement. He is saying that he knows about you, that he can reach you, that you are vulnerable. What does that mean? It means we need to change your protection arrangements, Dante said. It means you are not safe working late shifts alone. It means... He stopped, took a breath, and when he spoke again, his voice was gentler. It means I need you to trust me even more than you have, to let me keep you safe in ways that will require you to change your routine, to accept more intrusive protection. Naomi felt the weight of what he was saying. You want me to stop working? No, Dante said firmly. I would never ask you to give up your profession, but I want you to consider transferring to a different location, one that is easier to secure. I want you to accept around-the-clock protection, and I want you to consider staying somewhere other than your apartment until this situation is resolved. Staying where? With me, Dante said simply. In my home, where I can personally ensure your safety. It was too much. Too fast, too invasive. Every independent instinct Naomi had was screaming at her to refuse, to maintain her autonomy, to not let this man, no matter how much she was starting to care for him, dictate her life. But she also remembered the coldness in the stranger's eyes. The casual way he had mentioned that she was not as protected as Dante thought. The implicit threat in his message. I need to think about it, Naomi said. I understand, Dante replied. But think quickly, Bella, because the next time Alessandro Castellano makes a move, it will not be just to deliver a message. That night, Naomi lay in her apartment unable to sleep. Marco was parked outside. Another guard was posted at her building entrance, and she could hear the subtle sounds of someone on the fire escape outside her window. She was surrounded by protection, yet she had never felt more vulnerable. Her phone buzzed with a text from Dante. I know you value your independence. I know this is asking a lot, but please, Bella, let me keep you safe. Not because you are weak, but because I cannot bear the thought of anything happening to you." And suddenly Naomi understood. This wasn't about control. This was about fear. Dante, the powerful Mafia boss who seemed unshakable, was afraid for her, was willing to show that fear, that vulnerability, because she mattered to him. She called him, and he answered immediately, his voice rough like he had not been sleeping either. "Yes," Naomi said. "I'll stay with you, but with conditions. Name them. I keep working. We find a way to make that safe, but I don't give up my career. I maintain my own space within your home. This is protection, not moving in together as a couple. And when the threat is over, we revisit this arrangement." "Agreed," Dante said without hesitation. "Pack what you need tonight. I will have people come tomorrow for the rest of your things. And Naomi, thank you for trusting me, for giving me the chance to keep you safe." Moving into Dante's penthouse was surreal. He gave her an entire wing of the apartment, a bedroom suite with its own bathroom and sitting area that was larger than her entire studio. He respected her space, never entering without permission, making sure she had privacy despite the circumstances. But they also spent more time together. Dinners with Rosa, who was delighted by the arrangement. Late-night conversations on the terrace where Dante told her stories about his father, his childhood, the choices that had led him to take over the family business. Mornings where they had coffee together before Naomi went to work, and Dante went to manage his various enterprises. The attraction between them deepened, became something more substantial than initial chemistry. They learned each other's rhythms, preferences, vulnerabilities. Dante saw Naomi at her most exhausted, most frustrated with difficult patients, most uncertain about her future. And Naomi saw Dante dealing with the moral complexities of his position, making decisions that had no good options, carrying the weight of responsibility for hundreds of people who depended on him. "How do you do it?" Naomi asked one night as they sat together on the terrace. "Make these impossible choices where someone always gets hurt no matter what you decide?" "I choose the option where the fewest people suffer," Dante said simply. "I cannot save everyone. I cannot make everyone happy. But I can try to minimize harm, to protect the most vulnerable, to maintain some kind of order in a world that would be chaos without structure." "Do you ever regret it? The life you've chosen?" Dante looked at her seriously. "I did not choose this life, Bella. I inherited it. But I have chosen how I live within it, and I have chosen to use whatever power I have to protect people rather than prey on them." He reached out and took her hand. "And recently I have chosen you, that I do not regret. Even though I'm complicated, even though I come with my own set of problems, especially because of that," Dante said. "You make me better. You challenge me to be more than just a businessman or an enforcer. You remind me that there is goodness in the world worth protecting." 3 weeks after Alessandro Castellano's messenger had visited the pharmacy, the situation came to a head. Dante received intelligence that the Castellano family was planning something significant, something that would directly target Naomi to get to him. "I am going to end this," Dante told her as he prepared to meet with Alessandro. "Tonight. One way or another, this threat to you will be resolved." "What are you going to do?" Naomi asked, feeling suddenly afraid for him in a way she had not expected. "What I do best," Dante replied. "Negotiate, establish boundaries, make it clear that you are under my protection and that any move against you will result in consequences that Alessandro will not survive." "That sounds like a threat of violence." "It is," Dante said honestly, "but violence is sometimes the only language that certain men understand. Alessandro has been testing me, pushing boundaries, trying to find weakness. By targeting you, he thinks he has found it. I need to make him understand that he has instead created a situation where I will show no mercy." "Be careful," Naomi said, surprising herself with the intensity of her concern. Dante cupped her face gently. "I am always careful, Bella. But knowing you are waiting for me to return gives me even more reason to ensure I do so safely." The meeting between Dante and Alessandro Castellano took place in a neutral location, a private room at a restaurant that had seen countless similar negotiations over the decades. Dante brought his most trusted people. Alessandro brought an equal number. "You wanted this meeting," Alessandro said as they sat across from each other. "So talk." "You sent a message to someone under my protection," Dante began, his voice calm but edged with steel. You approached a civilian, a woman who has no involvement in our business, and you implied that I could not keep her safe. That was a mistake, the pharmacist. Alessandro smiled without warmth. She involved herself when she warned you that night. Made herself part of our conflict. That makes her fair game. No, Dante said firmly. She is not part of anything except my personal life. And if you or anyone in your organization approaches her again, if you even think about using her as leverage, I will make it my mission to dismantle everything you have built. Your businesses, your territory, your family legacy, all of it will burn. Alessandro leaned back, studying Dante. That is a significant threat over one woman. She is not just one woman, Dante replied. She is the woman I care about, which means harming her is the same as harming me, and we both know what happens when someone attacks me directly. The room was silent for a long moment. Finally, Alessandro nodded slowly. You are serious about this? About her? Completely. Then we have a problem, Alessandro said. Because my people expect me to respond when you make threats. They expect strength, not capitulation. I am not asking for capitulation, Dante said. I am establishing a boundary. Touch her, and there is war. Leave her alone, and we continue as we have been, competing for business but maintaining the peace that benefits both our organizations. Another long silence. Then Alessandro extended his hand. She is off limits. You have my word. But Dante, understand this. You have shown me a weakness. Someday, that knowledge may be valuable. And you have shown me that you can be reasonable. Dante countered, shaking his hand. That knowledge is also valuable. We understand each other. That is enough. When Dante returned to the penthouse hours later, Naomi was waiting in the living room, unable to sleep until she knew he was safe. He looked exhausted but unharmed, and when he saw her, his entire expression softened. It is done, Dante said. Alessandro has agreed to leave you alone. You are safe. Naomi felt something release in her chest, a tension she had been carrying for weeks. Thank you. I would do anything to keep you safe, Dante said simply. Anything, Bella, without hesitation. She crossed the room and wrapped her arms around him, feeling him hold her with the same fierce protectiveness he had shown since the night they met. I know, she whispered. I know. They stood like that for a long time, and Naomi realized that somewhere in the past few weeks, Dante had become essential. Not because she needed his protection, though she was grateful for it, but because he saw her completely, understood her, valued her exactly as she was. What happens now? Naomi asked eventually. Now that the threat is over, do I move back to my apartment? Do we go back to our separate lives? Dante pulled back enough to look at her face. Is that what you want? No, Naomi admitted. But I don't want to stay just because I was in danger. I want to stay because we're building something real. Then stay, Dante said simply. Not as my protected refugee, but as my partner. As the woman I care about deeply and want in my life completely. Stay because this feels right. Because we make each other better. Because neither of us wants to go back to how we were before we met. Your world is dangerous. My world is complicated, Dante corrected. But so is everyone's in different ways. At least in my world, we are honest about the dangers. At least in my world, we protect what we love without apology. Naomi thought about her lonely apartment, her independent life, the years she had spent convincing herself that she was fine alone. And then she thought about Rose's dinners, Dante's protective presence, the feeling of being part of something larger than herself. I'll stay, she said, but with conditions. Again, Dante smiled. You and your conditions, Bella. Name them. I keep my career. We establish our relationship as genuine partnership, not you protecting me, or me being dependent on you. And we do this at our own pace. No rushing into anything just because circumstances pushed us together. I agree to all of that, Dante said, with one condition of my own, which is that you stop calling this temporary, that you acknowledge that what we have is not just circumstances or danger or convenience, that you admit you feel what I feel. Naomi looked into his dark eyes and saw everything she had been too afraid to name. Affection, attraction, trust, and something deeper that was starting to feel a lot like love. I feel it, she whispered. Whatever this is, I feel it too. Dante kissed her then, and it was different from their first kiss. More certain, more grounded in the knowledge of who they actually were to each other. When they finally pulled apart, both of them were smiling. "Walk away now," Dante quoted with amusement. "Those were the first words you ever said to me. Did you know then that you would not be able to follow your own advice?" "I knew you were worth saving," Naomi replied. "I just did not know yet that you would end up saving me right back." 6 months later, Naomi stood in the private dining room of Moretti's restaurant, surrounded by her co-workers from the pharmacy, several members of Dante's organization who had become friends, and Rosa, who was beaming with joy. They were celebrating Naomi's promotion to head pharmacist at a new community health center that Dante had helped fund, a position that allowed her to use her expertise to serve underserved populations while maintaining reasonable hours and excellent security. "You did this," Naomi said to Dante as they stood together watching their combined circles of people interact. "You made this position possible." "I provided resources," Dante corrected. "You earned it with your expertise and your dedication. Do not diminish your achievement by giving me credit for your talent." "We're a good team," Naomi said, leaning into his side. "We are an exceptional team," Dante agreed. "You bring compassion and legitimacy. I bring protection and resources. Together we make a difference." Rosa approached with a huge smile and a not-so-subtle hint. "You know, Dante, when a man finds a woman like this, a woman who makes him better, who accepts all parts of him, who loves him completely, that man should not wait too long to make certain commitments." "Mama," Dante said with patient exasperation. "I am just saying," Rosa continued, winking at Naomi. "There is a ring that belonged to your grandmother, a beautiful ring that is waiting for the right woman, a woman who maybe has saved your life, who maybe has made you smile more in 6 months than you have smiled in 6 years. I know about the ring, Mama," Dante said, "and when I am ready to use it, you will be the first to know." After Rosa left to check on the food, Naomi looked up at Dante with amusement. "Is there actually a ring?" "There is," Dante admitted. "A diamond that belonged to my grandmother, who my mother claims would have loved you. But I am waiting for the right moment, the perfect moment, when you are ready to accept what it means to permanently tie your life to mine." "I'm already tied to your life," Naomi pointed out. "I live in your home. I'm part of your family. I help you navigate the moral complexities of your business decisions." "What would a ring change?" "Everything and nothing," Dante said. "It would formalize what we both know, that you are mine and I am yours, that we have chosen each other completely and without reservation." Naomi felt her heart race. "Is that a proposal?" "Not yet," Dante said with a slight smile. "When I propose, Bella, you will know. There will be no ambiguity, but soon, when the time is right." The moment came 2 weeks later, not during some elaborate romantic gesture, but on an ordinary evening when Naomi came home exhausted from a difficult shift at the health center. Dante was on the terrace, and when she joined him, he pulled her close without a word, just holding her while the city lights sparkled below them. "Marry me," Dante said quietly, "not because of danger or convenience or circumstances, but because you are the best person I have ever known, because you make me want to be better than I am, because I love you completely and I want to spend the rest of my life showing you what that means." He pulled out the ring, a stunning vintage diamond set in platinum, and Naomi felt tears start to slip down her cheeks. "You're asking now? When I'm exhausted and probably smell like antiseptic and haven't had time to process. I am asking now because this is who we are," Dante replied. "Not perfect or polished, just real. Just us, at the end of a difficult day, choosing each other anyway. So what do you say, Bella? Will you walk toward me instead of away? Will you let me love you for the rest of our lives?" Naomi looked at the ring, at Dante's face, at the life they had built together from an impossible beginning. She thought about the night she had warned him to walk away, never imagining that she would be the one walking toward something extraordinary. "Yes," she said simply. "Yes to all of it." When Dante slipped the ring on her finger and kissed her, Naomi felt like everything made sense. The danger, the complications, the unlikely circumstances that had brought them together. All of it had led to this moment, to this man, to this love that was stronger than any obstacle they might face. That's the story of Naomi Williams, the pharmacist who tried to save a stranger during a robbery and ended up finding her destiny. Her story proves that protection can become partnership, that danger can lead to devotion, and that sometimes the best love stories begin with 3 simple words: walk away now. Naomi and Dante's love story reminds us that courage comes in many forms, that real love transcends different worlds and dangerous circumstances, and that sometimes the person you try to save ends up being exactly the person you need. Their relationship shows us that genuine partnership is built on mutual respect, honest communication, and the willingness to see beyond surface differences to the heart underneath.